the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. So now this last game, I'm sure it was a little weird to essentially feel like you were playing a preseason game at the end of the regular season. Does that feel like a similar comparison of we're working on things, we're playing starters, we're pulling people?
It was a real game in the beginning. You know, as you start to put the younger guys in, you want to see the evaluation process over the few months that they had to learn to see what they can do combined with special teams. So I know it was tougher on them because they had to log a lot of reps, but the experience is invaluable. We wanted to win the ball game, obviously. We thought we'd have fared better in the second half with a lot of guys that played, but it was a learning experience for everybody.
What were the goals you had talked all week about how there were still things you guys wanted to work on and accomplish in this game. Offensively, what were those things, and what kind of progress did you guys feel like you made in those early times in the game when it was still the starters on those goals?
We want to start fast, number one. We want to get on the board fast. We haven't been getting on the board early in the game, so we accomplished that by getting on the board. We had a drive with no penalties, and we stayed out of the penalty area, and we moved it on the ground and in the air, so that was important for us. Defensively, we wanted to go 3 and out, and we got those two things accomplished.
Did it feel like there was momentum from last week's game that then carried into this, and because of playing those starters, having that fast start, it will also carry into the playoff game?
Yeah, it was very important for us to keep our edge. The starters played, and they wanted to play, so that was important for us to keep them in there and get the experience that they had to get and get the hits and get the calls and the communication down going forward.
How did you guys end up making those decisions of who would and would not play, and then how long some of the guys played? Were you waiting to see how the game went to make that decision, or how did you decide all of that day?
In my head, I had an idea, but the guys that were kind of banged up and needed an extra week, like Tristan or Mike Edwards or somebody like that, you wanted to dress them, but you didn't want to play them until you had to. Everybody else that was healthy was going to play. That was an easy decision, and you wanted to kind of allot time for certain guys because you didn't want the young guys playing the whole game. So the starters had to play some, and at some point in the second quarter, I knew they had to get pulled out.
Chris Godwin ends up hitting his 1,000 yards, and he also got 100 catches on the season. He and Keyshawn Johnson are now the only Bucs to have done that in their time here. So hearing those two numbers from anybody, but then also from Chris, who coming back off of injury, what does that say about him, and what did that seem to mean to him and the team to see him get those marks?
I think that's great for him. He's been doing it for a while now, since I've been here at least, and it's outstanding to get that accomplished, especially since what happened last year injury-wise to him. For him to come back and put up those kind of numbers says a lot about his diligent work ethic, a lot about how he feels about himself and the way he has to train, and the team is proud of him.
At the end of the season, we tend to hear about guys who maybe they have contract incentives, that's kind of riding on games, or there are certain milestones like 1,000 yards or 100 catches, things like that. Are you a guy that's ever aware of those, or try to make any of those happen when it comes to the end of the season? I know that winning, of course, is always, and working on the team stuff is always first, but is that something that you ever think about or try to make happen for guys?
If it's feasible, you like it to happen within the flow of the game. If somebody has astronomical numbers, like if he needed 20 catches for 1,000 and 500 yards, that would have been hard to do.
Yeah.
But if you got numbers that are feasible and you've been very consistent, we try to make that happen, as long as it's within the flow of the game.
How incredible is it to have 2 wide receivers hit 1,000 yards in a season? Just in general, how challenging is that, and what does that say about the offense and about those guys?
Well, it's turned into an offensive game. It's a passing league, so those guys, it says a lot about their durability. It says a lot about their availability. More importantly, those guys work hard. They're very tough. They know they're going to get double teamed, and they still come out and make plays.
I know that Godwin had another fumble, and it was remarkably similar to last week's. And I remember last week on the show you talked about you just felt like it was a really good punch out. Did you feel similarly this game, or now is it just kind of one of those fluky things? Now 2 games in a row, feel like there's something you got to work on?
I think it's something we have to work on. When you catch a screen and you run up in there, you're going into traffic, you got people coming at you from all angles. We got to get 2 hands on the ball.
And Russell Gage got a touchdown that is now a career-high 5 for him. So despite him struggling with so many different health issues this year and not always being available as much as I'm sure he would have liked to be, to know that he was still able to produce 5 touchdowns, what did that say about him this year, and just what he has ended up potentially being able to mean to this offense when he is healthy?
He's coming on. He's really coming on. He's coming on at the right time. He's getting healthy at the right time. his work ethic and his toughness on the field goes unmatched. Obviously, his blocking and his catching skills. So we just got to use him more and more.
Is there any, we know that he seemed to be down with a little bit of an injury after that touchdown. Is that a temporary thing? Does it look like something that might affect him going into the playoffs?
No, he'll be ready to go.
And then I know that you ended up playing Brady. We talked about this, of all the starters wanting to play and get some work. He ended up breaking his completions and attempts record for this season, and to see him doing that, again, it just feels like we always preface everything with at 45 years old. To see that he is able to break the attempts record and also the completions and have the kind of success throwing the ball that much that he's not 45 just handing it off every time. What does that say?
He's still a young man. He's still a young man. He can play as long as he likes right now because he prepares so well. He does everything the right way, and he loves to play the game. You rarely find somebody, I'm not going to say that age, but the older players that love to practice and love to play. He still loves both.
All right, well, we still have more coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips with head coach Todd Bowles. So the offensive line, the sentiment we've said so many times this year of so many combinations, so many people used. It's the little revolving door, it feels like at times. And this game, of course, partially because you're just wanting to rest some people, and then partially because of some injuries that happened in the middle of it. So I would love to hear your thoughts on, first of all, Brandon Walton and Luke Gedeke being your tackles to start the game, and knowing Brady was back there. What does that say about the confidence you had in them, and what did you see from the two of them while they were out there at the tackle position?
I thought both played very tough. I thought they played well. They gave up one or two, but they played very well, a lot better than I thought they would fare, especially Luke hasn't been out there in a while, but he did play it in college, and he wasn't a fish out of water, and he showed a lot of toughness there. He protected well, and I thought Walton got after it very well. I was proud of both of them.
And how about Robert Hainsey? What do we kind of know at this point about his injury? Is it something that seems like it could affect him next week, or was it just a small thing, maybe even something that might not have pulled him out if it wasn't for what this game meant?
No, it was a hamstring strain. We'll see how serious it was. We'll get through the end of the week and kind of see where he is right now, but hopefully he'll be ready with the extra day.
And of course, we don't like to ever predict the worst case scenarios, but if he's not available, what new fun combination of offensive linemen could we potentially see out there?
We'll have to work on that and see.
Yeah.
But Leverett is taking snaps there. Obviously, Moshawn is taking snaps there, so we'll see.
Yeah, and I would love to hear how those two guys played this Sunday as well. Molchan getting his first actual snaps, and then Leverett, getting those snaps at center for the first time, and then also his rollout in guard, just what you saw from those two.
Leverett's a high-energy guy. He's going to play well wherever he is. A few mental things. He's got to get down back at center, but he played well, and he got after it. Moshawn wasn't a fish out of water either. He knew where to go. He identified the Mike linebacker. He got some good blocks in, so it's some good experience for him.
And all four running backs got some carries, so particularly with Gio Bernard and Keyshawn Vaughn, what did you see from those two guys?
Did good on the edge. They got some good outside runs in and cut up in there. Did good with everything they had.
And Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask also getting in there. That's what I love about this game. So many guys that we get to talk about that we don't normally. And also, of course, for all of the University of Florida fans who've asked me several times over the last few years how Kyle Trask looks, to now finally have something to be able to talk about with them. So tell me, for both Blaine and Kyle, what you saw in their reps.
Well, Blaine managed the offense. Obviously, you can't turn it over. When Kyle got in there, it was toward the end of the game, and having not getting the offensive reps in practice and the scout team reps, you weren't going to expect a lot, but he had poise. He was under control. He showed what he's capable of mentally, so we just got to get him more reps in there.
And Devin Tompkins, a guy that I was excited to see get some reps on offense after, we saw such an exciting training camp from him, and then he's stepped in as the return guy. So what do you feel like his potential is at the wide receiver position, and now that you've gotten at least a few games to see him there?
I think he's got great potential there. He just has to get his routes down. He gets so excited when he goes out there that sometimes he loses his technique, but he's got to keep his technique that way. And the more he plays, the better he gets.
I know Kyle Rudolph ended up getting a touchdown, his first here. It was actually his career 50th. So tell us about how it was, nice to get a chance to throw him one, and even he hasn't been able to be out on the field as much as probably hoped for this year, and just what it says about his career and the guy that he's been in this league.
He's been around a long time. Obviously, waited his turn patiently. He stays prepared. He always works out in the morning. He stays ready, so he doesn't have to get ready. He's a good red zone target for us, and I'm happy he got the touchdown.
We talked about the goals that you had for the offense in this game. What were the ones defensively that you'd wanted to use this last game to accomplish?
Defensively, it was more or less communication. It was more or less communication, getting off the field on third down. Early on, I thought we did that. I thought the communication got a little spotty in the second half. A lot of new guys rotating in and out, and we got to clean that part up, even for the young guys.
And looking at not having Carlton recently, does he seem like he'll be available for the playoff game?
I'm expecting him to be ready. We'll see how the week goes, but I'm expecting him to be ready.
So without him in the game, what are the things that you've seen from Jamel and Sean that even if Carlton wasn't available, how you feel about your corner position?
Well, Dean's coming back around from his toe, so he's got the wind behind him. He'll get back to normal soon. And Bunning's been playing so good lately. He's very intelligent, understands the game. He's been getting his hands on balls, and we got to have that continue.
What would you say is the overall health of the defense at this point going into the playoff game? Who are the guys that you are maybe most worried about not having, or just how you feel about how many people you'll have available overall?
No, after 17, 18 weeks, they're all banged up.
Yeah.
They're not going to, I could pick a guy and they're going to have an injury.
Yep.
But the playoffs will drive you, will carry you. The momentum will carry you. They'll get ready to play. They're professionals that way. Obviously, we don't want anybody hurt that's out there. So if you're well enough to play, we want you to play. And I think most will be available. I just got to see which ones. But if not, the other guys have got enough experience to carry us because they've played a lot.
All right. Well, we have more coming up on the Todd Bowles Show, especially getting into that next game against the Cowboys. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Algier, man, what a rookie season he's had. 135 rushing yards against you guys in the game on Sunday. So what was he doing well, and just what you've seen from him as a rookie, and then what maybe wasn't working as great on the rushing side of the defense as you would have liked?
Well, the first half we were fine. I thought we had everything. They had under 100 total yards. In the second half, when the younger guys started to play, there were some communication issues that happened, and people got out of their gaps, and we just got to get off blocks and make plays. And the more they switched up the personnel and motion and jetted, some guys got confused on some things, and the ball got out. But he's a heck of a player. He's a heck of a runner, and you don't want to give up that kind of yardage, but he had a heck of a year.
I know that it was a pretty big shift in terms of, like you said, when you put in some of the younger guys and backups. And what did you see from that group overall compared to maybe what you would have hoped from them? And then maybe was there somebody that in your mind did stand out as having a good performance when they're called upon to do more than normal?
Mentally, I thought they would have been better as far as adjusting. We made some adjustments that we shouldn't have made, and communication got mixed up. But again, we were moving guys around. Delaney, I thought, for playing nickel, strong safety, and free safety, not getting many reps, I thought he showed up, at least understanding what to do. You still had IO 44 did something, as coming in right off the street last week. I thought he played well and did some things that we can grow upon. Everybody else had their ups and downs.
And how about Akeem Hicks getting in there for his first sack of the season, and a bit of an unconventional way of lining him up, I noticed on that one.
He was playing defensive end,
Yeah.
And he gets excited when he gets out there and stands up, and in his mind he's running a 4-4, but he got around the corner, he beat the tackle, and he got the sack. I was happy for him.
That's great. And then Devin recovered a fumble, gives him 9 since entering the league, which is the most in that span in the NFL. Why is he so good at being in that position and then executing to be able to have a number like that?
As he would tell me, the ball loves me, Bowles. And he has a knack for being around it. Levante has a knack for punching him out. Devin has a knack for picking him up.
That's great. And then Zion McCollum, one of the guys that has definitely had to play some more than anticipated because of injuries or the situation. What have you seen from him, and the challenge of the transition from going from college to pro at the corner spot, and especially coming from a bit of a smaller school?
A lot of information he's got to deal with. He gathers a lot of information, learning nickel and corner. Just got to be consistent. His consistency and his eyes get him in trouble at times, which we got to clean up. and keep cleaning up. He had some good plays. He had some plays he'd like to have back, but we just got to clean his eyes up.
And what did you see from the rest of the defensive line? We talked a little bit about that play that Akeem made, but seeing guys like Logan Hall and Nacho and even Pat O'Connor a little bit more. What did you see from the D-line group overall?
I thought Pat held the edge up very well. Logan's hot and cold as far as that. When he gets in the weight room and gets some more strength next year, I think he's trending in the right direction. He's going to really help us. He's going to turn out to be pretty good. Everybody else was solid. Everybody else down there was solid for the most part in the first group, and then the backups came in. Again, we got our gaps a few plays, and it cost us, and you never have a good day when he gets 100 yards in the second half.
Now that we're at the end of the regular season, as you look back on this whole year so far, what are maybe some of your biggest takeaways about this team, your coaching staff, just kind of a little reflection moment of what it has been like to get to this point as you guys head into the playoffs and what you've learned about your group?
Mentally tough, certain games this year in the beginning we probably wouldn't have won. I don't think we were mentally tough enough. As we got into the grind of the season, they knew no one was coming to pull us out of the hole. They dug deep and they got themselves out of the hole. I can really appreciate that, and everybody staying together.
What would you say would be the biggest improvements that you've seen on each side of the ball from week 1 to now?
Offensively, getting on the same page, and understanding everybody's role, what they can and can't do, with the coaches understanding the players and vice versa. So that was big for us, especially in the second half of the season. I thought some of that got cleaned up, and I think they're able to function effectively.
All right, well, we have one more segment coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show. We're going to get into that matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. So now you know you are facing the Cowboys. What are the pros and cons of facing a team in the playoffs that you already faced in the regular season?
There are no cons. Anybody you face is going to be tough. Obviously, playing the Cowboys coming here, we hadn't played them since week 1. We played them last year. They're a different team. We're a different team. Coming in here, you're not going to win any easy games. So we got to prepare for what we need to prepare for, be mentally ready and physically ready when Monday comes around.
All right, so let's start with Dak Prescott. What does he bring? What are the things that you always know that you have to be aware of against him?
Well, he's the quarterback of the offense. He understands and gets everybody in position. He's very good at pre-snap reads. He understands the game very well. He sees it very well. He understands the offense very well. He can get the ball where it needs to be. So we got to try and disguise more and try to throw them off a little bit if we can.
And how about their two-headed running attack that we've heard about Zeke for a really long time, but man, now Pollard's come in and the way that they deploy each of them. What is so interesting about facing that tandem?
Well, it's tough. Zeke can go inside and outside as well can Pollard. And Pollard also moonlights as a wide receiver. Both can catch the ball. Zeke more of the shorter routes. Pollard can go short or deep. And they just keep coming at you. You don't get a break. When you send one in, usually you have a downgrade. They don't have a downgrade at all. They have a 1-2 punch that's equal, and they're going to keep pressure on you.
And I'm sure we all knew that if they were willing to let Amari Cooper go, they thought pretty highly of CeeDee Lamb, and I think we've seen why. So what are the unique challenges about trying to contain a guy like him?
Well, they move him around all over the place. He's a very talented receiver, great hands, great punt returner as well. Very good route runner, can run after catch with the best of them. They put him at the slot, he's at the Z, he's at the X, he's in the backfield, so they make him hard to find. And then if you try to key on him, they got Gallup sitting out there, and they still got 2 very good tight ends, and they make a lot of things work. Obviously, T.Y. Hilton's there now too, so they have a great receiving core.
So then how about on the defensive side? I mean, of course, we got to start with Micah Parsons. I just feel like he's the next closest thing we've seen to an Aaron Donald in terms of ability to single-handedly affect an outcome of a game as a defensive player in a while. Does that feel fair? And is he a guy that you feel like you have to game plan for pretty extensively?
You better know where he is on the field. He's definitely a game wrecker. He can wreck the game by himself, or he can wreck the game where others can make plays. And they have very good people over there. Obviously, Lawrence and Armstrong is over there as well. They have ball hawks in the secondary. So he makes everything go for them. Very key piece, very good player, outstanding player. Effort is off the charts, and he's relentless at it, so we got to play 4 quarters.
And how does it affect you guys knowing that you get the Monday game now as compared to, I mean, it's a pretty big difference of where it could have been Saturday, or even Sunday to 48-hour. extra added time for, I'm sure, both the health side of getting guys ready, but then also for you guys as coaches. How did that change the way you planned on handling this week, and does it feel like an advantage as compared to having to play against somebody on Saturday?
Well, it's not an advantage because you're playing on Monday night. We played on Monday night this year, so it's kind of a regular week. You get the extra day. Hopefully that helps the guys get a little healthier that way. But preparation-wise, you don't have to rush and put it all in the ball, so to speak. You can kind of take your time and watch everything and come up with a good game plan.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach, as always, and good luck against the Cowboys.
Thank you, Case.